Mark here at 914 Rubber. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about our side markers, the full kit, as well as the assembled pieces. So we sell the complete assembled side markers with the LEDs installed as both left and right as a kit. Another question you get is which is the driver's and which is the passenger side? So if you just remember that the fattest portion of the lens goes to the forward, with the two holes here being orientated to the left and right, the screws being up and down. You're going to want the larger portion with the front being the wide one forward, and then the larger portion up between the top and the bottom. So you can see the bottom here is much narrower than the top. So that is the passenger side. One of the things that makes this a little problematic is that you have these little pins that go in here that go on the side that push on to the body of the car itself on the fender. And if you have a car that has a lot of paint, it can make it very difficult to install these, and you wind up disassembling these and having to reassemble them actually on the car because you're going to need to push from the inside of the assembled unit to be able to get it to snap completely on. Each kit comes with a left and a right, so 2 times what you see here. The base itself, along with the clips that I was mentioning that are difficult to install, the seal that goes around the lens itself, the lens, the LED, as well as the aluminum screws that tighten the lens on. So I want to be very, very clear that these aluminum screws are made exactly like the factory. They are designed to strip out if you over tighten them. Do not over tighten these because they will strip out because they're designed to do that instead of cracking the lens. So once those are snug, that is more than adequate to be able to hold the lens in the seal. So the first question you're going to be wondering is how exactly does this seal go on to the base itself? Well, first of all, you want to determine which side is going to wind up going up. So the bulb is here, and what's going to happen is you're looking at the seal. There's one piece that goes around the outside flange to be able to hold it in position, and then the other one has a little bit of a step in it, and that allows for the step for the lens to be able to fully integrate with the seal. That's how you can tell when you've got this on correctly. I do want to let you know that when you go to install the bulbs themselves, they're a very, very tight fit, and this is best done before you put this on the car. And typically what you're going to want to do is go ahead and just start that in the slots, look at the bulb itself and look at the slots, line those up, and you're going to need a lot of pressure to push that in. I use the edge of my table here. Here's the bulb inserted into the unit. All you need to do is just add a little bit of pressure, get that to seat in there. You can see it's actually making good contact. And then we'll just go ahead and give this a little turn. So when the seal is installed correctly, you're going to see that the part with the connectors is flat, along with the lip with that little inner step there. Please note that the clip itself does not want to go quite all the way on, just initially pushing it in. Here you can clearly see where one of the pins is not fully installed and the other has been pushed into place. This can be easily done using a pair of pliers or vice grips just to pop it in all the way so that you can get this to seat onto the metal of the car. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to just do the passenger side. The driver's side is identical. As you've noticed, there's an indentation right there in the sheet metal and the plastic that will allow this to line up completely. And I'm going to start by just getting this kind of into place and then working the seal all the way around before I do my second pop. There we go. So the seal is now completely seated around the base of the rubber. And don't worry if there's a little bit of a gap here between the metal. This one will have a little bit of gap because this one is just in primer at this point in time. It also allows for if you have a little bit of paint there so that hopefully you can get that on a little easier. And these are completely seated. I got my LED in, and now I can go ahead and start pulling this back and working my lens all the way around. Something else I wanted to point out is if you take a look at the plastic housing and then the lens itself, you'll notice there's like a little step where the screws go together, where one side is a little bit higher than the other. The high side goes on the top, and that reaches into the upper section here. As you can see, I got about an 1/8 of an inch gap here, 1/8 of an inch gap here. So the lower side here goes with the short, and the taller side here goes with the top. So you can tell right now I've got my orientation correct with the big side up and the big side forward. You just start with the little screw here on the top and the bottom. That'll help get you orientated correctly. I'm going to go ahead and take a trim tool and pull this out as I start to push it in, as I start to push the lens in a little bit. So I've readjusted this a little bit so that I had a little bit of the edge of the seal out, and I can be able to go ahead and get my trim tool up underneath here. Then I can just push underneath and work my way around and pull that seal out. As I do that, then I'll be able to tighten that down. Push that in the rest of the way. You can see how that's seated nicely, and I can go ahead and now tighten that down. Another mistake that's easy to be made both on and off the car, when you're assembling the lens onto the rubber seal, these have such a nice tight fit that it's very hard to tell, even though they look like they're completely sealed here, that they're on. This one just needs to be tightened down a little bit, and you can see the tension on the screw there isn't much, so I'll be able to tighten that one down. But if you ever get to the point where it feels like it's cross-threaded or you got a little more depth, the screws definitely have a bottom to them, so you'll feel it when you screw it in. This one looks like it's all the way in, but as you can see, once it's seated, there's a little more depth there. So I'll screw that in all the way, and I'll be able to get a nice tight seal, and the screw won't stand proud. So make sure that you're getting the lens completely pushed into the rubber seal. The screw's been screwed all the way in with it firmly seated. Another way to tell is that the screws come all the way to the end of the stop. So this is fully sealed at this time. Just wanted to quickly mention that we also make the wiring harness splicing kits for both the left and right front turn signals and side markers, that if a previous owner's gone in there and gotten a little funky with the connectors, or they're just worn out and they're garbage, you can splice those into your harness if you need to. Also wanted to emphasize that the best way to buy this is probably in the kit with the parts and pieces not completely assembled. As you can see, it's fairly easy to do that on the car. Once again, I also wanted to thank everyone for their support in helping us to make these parts that are needed for our cars. It's something we have a passion for here, and without your support, we couldn't do it. Thanks again.